Hi everyone, welcome to another video. Today I'm going to be sharing how to use multiple mediums on one clean and simple project. But before I do that, I want to remind you to follow me across social media. Those links are going to be listed down in the description box below. Also, while you're down there, you can subscribe to my channel if you would like to. And if you enjoyed this video, the thumbs up button always helps. For today's project, I'm using the Believe in Unicorn stencil. This is the 6x6 stencil from the Crafters Workshop. You can also use the 12x12 one on a larger scrapbook page if you wanted to, or even a home decor project. This is super, super cute. So what I want to do is go ahead and line up my stencil. I'm working on white heavyweight cardstock. That's A2, so 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. I lined up my stencil, then I flipped my paper over and taped down my paper to the back of the stencil. This allows me to get by with kind of keeping everything together. So if the stencil moves or if the paper moves, they're both going to move together and I'm not going to have to reposition this at all. Now for my first layer, I'm going to go ahead and start off with some ink blending through the stencil where the unicorn is, but just the body of the unicorn, not the mane or the tail or anything like that. I'm using a Fantastics tool. You could use a makeup sponge, just cut it down to a smaller kind of point, or you could use your finger to kind of get this into the little slots that are in the stencil for the body. Now, whenever you're doing multiple mediums on the card, you need to kind of plan ahead and make sure that you do put them down on the project in the order that they need to be. So I'm starting off with my ink. I know that's going to blend nicely onto the cardstock by itself, and I can also wipe this off the stencil so it's not going to get in any of my mediums and contaminate them further down the road. So once I get this all stenciled through the little openings where the body, the ear, the little face is, I'm going to take a dry cloth and just very, very gently buff away where any of that ink is sitting on top of the stencil. This way it's not going to contaminate my inks. I want to use just a very, very light touch here so I don't end up pushing this ink through any of the other openings that are on the stencil. It's not going to be a big deal if it gets a little bit anywhere else because those will be covered up with mediums and then foil and glitter later on, but just to keep it safe so it doesn't end up peeking through. Now once I have that all cleaned up, I'm going to start with some masking tape and masking off all of the portions where I do not want my foil. So I'm going to mask off all the stars and the unicorn itself. The parts I'm going to leave open are that nice galaxy little strip up there in the top right hand corner. I'm going to leave the unicorn's horn, the unicorn's mane, and the unicorn's tail open so I can apply some foil through these. So there you can see I've used bits of tape just to kind of cover up all those stars and the unicorn's body so nothing is going to get on those pieces. This takes a little bit of time, but getting this on there is really going to save you a lot of time and hassle when putting on the medium. So I'm using the hot foil gel medium from the Crafters Workshop. This is for hot foil laminators. And this is for like the deco foils or the mink foils, that kind of thing, to put on top of it. It works really, really well. Now, if you don't have a laminator and you wanted to foil, you could also use the Tacky When Dry medium. It's not going to give you as smooth of a finish as this does. It will give you more of a burnished look. However, it will work to get the foil on the page just the same. Now I'm going to go ahead and smooth this through. You want a nice thin but smooth layer, and I'm just using a spatula to go ahead and push that through the stencil where I have the openings. Then I can go ahead and take the stencil off. I'm going to let that medium dry. It does need to dry. It only takes about 10 minutes because you're using a very thin layer. And once it dries, you're going to know because it turns from white to clear. While it dried, I went and washed my stencil, and then I'm going to let that dry for my next step. When this is dry, it's time to put down some foil. I'm using the deco foil. This is the rainbow foil. It is so, so gorgeous. I just take a piece of it and cut it down to fit over the entire card panel that I'm using here. So I'm not just cutting bits and pieces to go here and there where I have the foil. It's easier just to cut one big piece. You can always reuse the extra later on in different projects. I'll run this through my laminator. My sandwich is a piece of folded paper. I put my cardstock down, and then I go ahead and lay the foil with the shiny or the rainbow side in this case up with the silver matte side facing the foil. Then I close that sandwich down and put this through my laminator. I have the Royal Sovereign laminator. You can use a mink, whatever you want. I'm using this on the highest heat setting in mine. I'm only going to run it through once because that's all it really needs. This gel transfers the foil really, really well. So I take that out of the laminator. I'm going to let that cool for just a second. And this will, once it starts to cool, it kind of immediately starts to release. So I can go ahead and pull up that foil, and I've got this gorgeous, gorgeous rainbow galaxy. The mane and the tail on the unicorn are so rainbowy and shiny, and I just love, love, love the way it looked. Now, because I used the whole piece, I do have a lot of extra little portions there. That's okay. I'll just set that aside and use that on another project later on. You can reuse your foils. So there's a closer look at that. You can see with the hot foil laminator, it gives it a nice smooth surface, nice and flat, and it still has so, so much shine. Now I'm going to go ahead and take my stencil, line it back up over everything I've already done, and tape it down from the front. Then I can go ahead and flip this over and tape it down from the back again, but that way it stays in place and I know it's not going to move around on me. Then it's time to get out your masking tape again and start to cover all of those pieces that you've already put on the card. So I'm going to cover up the unicorn's body. I'm going to cover up the tail, the mane, the horn on the unicorn, and also that galaxy in the background. I just take my masking tape and rip it into smaller pieces as I need to. Now this also has a sentiment on the stencil. I'm not going to use the sentiment today, but if you wanted to, you could always foil that in black. You could also put in black ink if you wanted to through that. You could also heat emboss through that. So apply a little bit of Versamark ink through there and heat emboss with maybe a black glitter embossing powder. So once I have everything kind of masked off, it's time to complete my stars on the background. I'm using the Tacky When Dry gel medium, but I did want to give you another option. If you're not crazy about glitter, the Crafters Workshop does have all these different colors of modeling paste. These would be gorgeous put through the background, and it would give you a nice and different texture. But like I said, I'm going to use glitter today. I know a lot of people aren't crazy about glitter, but I'll show you an easy way to clean it up here when I'm finished. So I'm going to take some of this Tacky When Dry medium and place it through the stencil. Again, nice, thin, even layer. You don't need much. You can see I have a really small container of this. I've used it a lot, like a lot, and I'm still about halfway through it. So this lasts for a really long time. I place this through the stencil, again, nice, smooth, even layer. Then I can go ahead and pull it up and allow this to dry. Again, you do need to account for dry time with this. Now the reason I did my layers the way I did, I started with the ink, then I moved on to the hot foil. I knew I didn't want to do the Tacky When Dry gel medium before I did the foil because I didn't want to send that through my hot laminator. So just think about what you're doing and get the order in your head before you start your project. That way you don't mess up putting something through your laminator if you're going that route that you shouldn't be putting through there. So once this is dry, again, it's going to go from white to clear. It's going to have a nice tacky finish on it, hence the name. I'll use some gold glitter. This is from Wow. And I'll go ahead and just press it down with my fingers. Again, if you are not crazy about getting glitter everywhere, you can just use like a rubber spatula or something like that to press this down, or you can put another piece of paper on top of this and rub it down with your bone folder. That will get the glitter to really stick in there. Now once I have this all burnished into the gel medium, I'm going to take a dry brush. This is pretty stiff and dense, and I'll just wipe away all that extra glitter onto a scrap piece of paper that I have below. Now again, I know glitter is very messy. It gets on a lot of people's nerves. They can't stand to use it. I don't mind it so much because I found a really fun way, not a fun way, but a really easy way to clean it up, and it's super cheap. You can buy them anywhere. There's a closer look at that glitter all pushed and burnished into that gel medium. It gives a nice smooth finish. It's so cool when you look at it close up. How I like to clean up my glitter though, I just take one of those lint rollers, sticky lint rollers that's used for like pet hair, that kind of thing, lint, and I just roll it over my surface. This immediately picks up any of those stray little glitters, locks it onto that tape, and then you can just throw it away. It doesn't get anywhere else. So you can just throw it away in your trash can. It's so super easy and pretty cheap to buy one of those. The only thing extra I did to this card was add a sentiment on the bottom with a die cut. I layered up several die cuts so it has a nice dimension to it. I attached the whole thing to an A2 top folding card base, and that was my card. Super, super fun. I loved using the glitter and the foil and the ink and everything all on one card. It really made for so much interest. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. There are going to be links on the left side of your screen that you can click on. You can also subscribe to my channel over there if you want to. All the information is going to be down in the description box. Supplies are going to be listed down there as well. Thanks for watching and happy crafting.